Daniel, when you read through the book, the entire book, fascinating book, you find out that here's a guy who's a minority in Babylon, but yet he climbs to one of the highest rung in the political and government structure of Babylon, overseeing the entire nation underneath the king, running everything. So I want you to see that Daniel, even though someone could be in a place where they're considered to be a minority, if they walk with God and do their work in a stellar way, you'll always be brought to your highest capacity and potential, no matter where you are. And Daniel did that. When you read his book, you'll find out he was also a prophet of God. He had a life of prayer and a life of fasting. Now, I want us to jump into that second question. Why did he fast? In this passage, we find that he fasted because of several things. He fasted, one reason was that he was in a new country with new customs, new culture, and he had to come up to speed. I mean, when you go into another country and you have to quickly get an induction into that country's culture and custom and then qualify for the job that you were brought there for, you better make sure you do it and do it well. I mean, I've had the chance to travel to about 50 different countries. And every place I go, I try to get quickly brought up to speed with the culture and customs, because if not, I'm being brought there to talk to people either about leadership or about culture and diversity or about Christ, whatever. And I got to know how to talk with them, because if I disconnect, then I'm going to find myself flopping and not doing the job I was brought there to do. And so you have to quickly understand. So sometimes I meet with my interpreter beforehand, and I'll say, here's what I'm going to talk about. Well, does this come across culturally? I'll say even jokes I may think about, and I'm going to say, well, does this joke translate culturally? Will it connect? And sometimes they say, no, that you can't do that because nobody will understand. We don't know those idioms and expressions. And so, this will work. And sometimes, because my stories come right in my head as I'm talking, I hope it flies. I remember I was in Nigeria, and so I said to the group, I said, it was a large Muslim area of northern Nigeria, and I said, God is bigger than Allah. So they would translate it into their language, and I didn't know that in their language, the word for God is Allah, even the God of the Bible. So when I heard him, he said, when he translated, he said, Allah is bigger than Allah, or God is bigger than God. So I listened, and so I realized, I said, whoa, I just blew it. So I said, the God of the Bible is bigger than the God of the Quran. So I had to clarify. Do you understand? So I learned some tricks, because sometimes you go into different nations, the person who's interpreting, you think that's their day in the sun. They're preaching a different message than what you're preaching. They don't care what you're saying. So I had to learn to repeat myself, make sure this guy's not doing his own thing. So I got tricks. Touch the person next to you and say, they're always tricks. They're always tricks. But I want us to understand this fasting thing. Why did Daniel fast? He fasted because he was facing new challenges. He fasted because he needed God's favor and blessings. He fasted because he was hungry for God. And there's some of you this year, we're in 2013, the year is just open to you. There are going to be new challenges you're going to face. There are going to be, or some of you brought old challenges from 2012 into this year. And you need to get a breakthrough. There are victories that you need to get and to seize and to walk into. And if Daniel did not fast for those 10 days, and notice now, his kind of fasting, which we'll get into in a moment, doesn't mean necessarily that you fast by not eating totally. There are lots of different kinds of fasts in the Bible. Fasting does mean to cover your mouth, to turn your plate over, to abstain from eating for spiritual purposes. But there are different kinds of fasts. You may find a normal fast where you'll fast by drinking water or juice, but not eating anything. Then you'll find throughout the scripture some people, like Jesus, fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't eat anything throughout those 40 days, just drank water. There are kinds of fasts. Paul fasted 3 days, didn't eat anything, didn't drink anything in Acts 9. That's called an absolute fast. Here in the book of Daniel, we label it as a Daniel fast, which is really a partial fast. And so he was fasting primarily because he needed something that only God could provide.